Hey guys, looks like we had a little bit of tech confusion, if you will, there. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes as we wait a few more people to jump in here. But you guys are in the right place, the right time. I'm going to go ahead and just go back to muting. I need to make a couple calls to make sure everybody is getting on the correct link. But yeah, we'll get here started in just a few seconds. All right, guys, just so we stay on track, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And then if we have a few more people jump on, then we will just get them on in and rolling. So welcome to today's training. My name is Marty Miller. I am your regional technology trainer for South Texas. And today we're going to be learning about the KW Consumer app. Okay, so KW Consumer app. This, and we kind of got to change our mindset just slightly about it. Want to make sure that you realize that this is an app built for the consumer, right? So we're going to spend the first half of the class walking through it as if we were the consumer. And then the second half, we'll kind of take our consumer hat off and we'll start thinking about it from the agent standpoint. We'll talk about how Command interacts with the consumer app as well. So if you have not already, you want to make sure that you get in and download the KW Consumer app. Especially exciting news, this morning there was actually a new update. So if you have not already downloaded it, go download it. If you have downloaded it, then you'll want to go back and update it if you haven't already updated it. So download and then update. Let me go ahead and get you guys set up with seeing my phone, and then we can walk through and show you what it looks like. So give me 2 seconds, and we're going to switch that over to my phone. Excuse me. All right, so the app looks like this. Top left-hand corner, you can see it's got a white background with red letters. White background with red letters, that is the KW Realty app. So if you click on it, you're going to get taken in, and typically it takes you into the main screen of search, okay, the main search screen. I was working on that this morning with a different class. Let me clear all of this out. So at the very bottom, you can see that you've got 5 menu items, right? 5 menu items. The bottom right-hand corner says more, okay? One of the ways you'll know that you haven't updated your app recently is if it still says you, Y-O-U, okay? The most recent version should say more. And so you can click on more, and then you're gonna know whether your app, right? Remember, this is your consumer app that you're using as a consumer, has been branded to you as the agent. If there's a bar at the very top there that says your agent is your name and then has your headshot. If for any reason your screen looks like this, then it means that you have not branded this app to yourself. So if that's the case, you're just gonna want to click on Find an Agent, and then you can search by name or location. So I can start searching. If I don't know who my agent's going to be, but I'm looking for agents in the Houston area, I can actually search for Houston, Texas. Oh, there we go. And you'll see cities, Houston, Texas shows up, and it's going to load all of the agents that are doing business in the Houston area. So you can start scrolling through, right? And then kind of see everybody. Now, let me ask you a question. Based upon this screen that you can see on my phone, all of these guys are amazing agents. I'm sure they're all doing an amazing job. That being said, which one of those 6 do you think the consumer is most likely going to want to do business with? Which one of those 6 is the consumer most likely going to want to do business with, would you say? So between those 6, who do you think would be? You guys can throw that in the chat. So if you want to chat me who you think it's going to be, you can tell me. There you go, good. Shika said the one with a picture, so Steven there, right? So first things you guys need to do is go to your KW Connect marketing profile and your marketing profile within Command, and make sure that both of those are fully updated. They include your team logo, they include your headshot, they include your bio, your cell phone, the address of your market center, your specializations, all of that information. So for example, if I know that I want myself to be my agent, I can search for my name and then find myself. And then I can actually see there's my headshot. I have a team, so you can see my team is there with my team logo, the address of my market center. You can see my website, phone number, email address, and then full bio as well. All right, so in order to claim me as my agent, you would basically click on the Get in Touch button at the very bottom. So I'm going to click on Get in Touch. You're going to say that's going to claim Marty Miller as your new agent. And I'll say, yep, that's what I want to do. And I would click on Confirm. And then you'll now see when I go back to that More button, right, which we were at the very beginning, you can now see, okay, cool, that's my headshot and my name. I'm actually branded to the app. Right, so that's what we're always looking to do, is make sure that the agent has a branded copy of your app. With regards to searching, there's a variety of ways that we can search for different things within the KW app. First one is obviously looking for landmarks. So I could look at homes near Disney World, type in Disney World, and now I'm going to get all the homes that are located around Disney World. It literally took me all the way into Florida, right? And then zoomed me in into Orlando. And not only that, but zoomed me in where Disney World was. Maybe it's not Disney World, maybe it's Disneyland. Boom, I'm taken from Florida all the way to California, and now I can see Disneyland, right? I could search for, let's say, I want to live near the Statue of Liberty. Boom, taken to the Statue of Liberty. There's Ellis Island, right? And I can zoom back out, and then I can see properties for sale around the Statue of Liberty. So essentially, our app has a relationship with Google, where anytime you're searching in that top box, you are literally searching for a landmark style item, and Google is saying, based upon what you typed, what is the most likely location that they are looking for, and then we'll zoom your map in on that location. So that's number one. We can also search for neighborhood. So let's just say, in Katy, Cinco Ranch is really popular, right? So I could search for, come on, Cinco Ranch, and boom, taken immediately to the Cinco Ranch neighborhood. Now, as I continue to zoom in, you can see all those blue boundaries. Those all represent neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods are provided by Nextdoor, our partnership with Nextdoor. So as I zoom in, you can then see here are all the names of the neighborhoods, and I can click on any one of those neighborhood names and immediately start to get information about the actual neighborhood. So the current stats, what locals are saying. I can put in different addresses. So maybe I say, I want to know how far it is between here. Let's say I like to go to Texans football games. I could put in Reliant Stadium, oops, spell it right, and choose that as a location. And then all of a sudden, oops, why didn't I put that in? Oops, there it goes. Now it's in there actually twice. So let me go ahead and delete that one out. So you can now see that I have the ability to know that from this particular neighborhood, it's a 34-minute drive to Reliant Stadium. In this neighborhood, I can see the schools that the neighborhood is zoned to. I can see private schools as well, right? So that's information by searching for neighborhood. And I can zoom any of this around, right? Shika, did you want me to look at the neighborhood again? When you say, can you do this again, what were you referring to? Actually looking at a neighborhood? Yes, how'd you start this? Yeah, so basically I just found the actual neighborhood and I clicked on the name of it. So there you can see there's Grand Lakes Phase 2, and I can scroll down through the actual neighborhood information as well. And there's all the information about Grand Lakes Phase 2, and then you can see properties that are for sale in that neighborhood as well. From there, if I find a house that I actually want to look at, I can click on the little black button that has the house name, and I can hold down on the photo. I'm going to drag that listing to the very top. Okay, so then you can see, well, here's a $535,000 listing. It's located at 22214 Indigo Pines Lake. It had a recent price decrease. So you see that white space just below the price shows me, okay, there was a price decrease of $15,000, and that happened recently. That's why it's showing up on the app. I can also see, excuse me, this is a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house that's 4,307 square feet. And there are 43 pictures loaded, so I can actually scroll through and I can actually click on the photos, and then you can see, well, as soon as it pulls up, let's see if we can get that one to pull up. Well, they're just not pulling up today. Typically the photo would load and then I can actually, there it goes, it just took a second. So I can zoom in. I can also turn my phone sideways and now see the photo in full landscape mode as well. Okay, so we can exit out of that looking at the photos. Now you'll see just below the address button, I've got save, hide, and share. If I want to select this property as one of my favorites, I can click on save. And it'll say, do you want to add it to one of your collections? And I've already started a collection with Cinco Ranch homes. And yet if I wanted to have one that said something like nice backyard, right? Just have a home with all the nice backyards in it, a collection of those, I could click on that and then click on save as well. If I want to hide this property, meaning it's not one I'm interested in, I don't want to see it on the map anymore, I could click on hide, and it would basically then no longer show this property on the map. So you can see now it's actually gone from the map because I hid it. If for any reason I want to get my hidden properties back, I can click on more in the top right-hand corner, scroll up, and then at the very bottom, you'll see a button that says Show Hidden Listings. I can click on Show Hidden Listings, and then click on Done. And now that listing shows back up there in the gray. I can click on it again, and then I can unhide it by clicking on the hide button one more time. So I'll click on hide, and now that listing is now going to show up on my map. I can finally share this property with anyone that I'd like that might be interested in it just by clicking on the share button. So once I click share, then you can see here are all the different people I could text this to. I could airdrop it to somebody. I could send it via text, email, Facebook, or any other messenger style app that I had on my phone. Just so you know, when you share the app with somebody, you're actually sharing a web link. So it's actually like an individual web page for that actual property to their email or text or whatever it may be, just so you have an idea. So they don't necessarily need the app in order to be able to see the property you're sending them. Sorry guys, I did this class this morning. My voice is starting to go, I can tell. So I can save, hide, or share. I also have the ability there that you can see Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered, 2 additional buttons that are included on this property that allow any one of my clients who are looking at properties there to get connected with Keller Covered or Keller Mortgage and see how they can save money on their mortgage or their insurance. As I start to scroll down, I can click on Read More, and then I can see all the information about this property from the description pulled from the MLS. Now, let me ask you a question. Those of you that are on the call right now, based upon the screen that you can see right now, throw in the chat, who is the listing agent? This one's a little unique in that the name of the brokerage is a female's name, but who is the actual listing agent? Do you see any contact information for the listing agent? I'm going to take by your silence that you don't see the listing agent, right? That's one of the best things about this setup is that you can actually have your consumers use this app. And if they have a question, they're going to click on Ask Your Agent there at the bottom, and that's who they can get the information from. We always hate it, and if it hasn't happened to you yet, it may happen in the future where you work with a client for a long time, all of a sudden they ghost you, come to find out they circumvented you, went straight to the listing agent, they wrote their offer with the listing agent for some deal or something, and then all of a sudden now you no longer have that person as a client. So there are apps that your clients are using right now that are easily and quickly providing them with the information for the listing agent. The KW Consumer app is not one of those. So you can see the only reason why it says Trisha Turner is because she is the brokerage, Trisha Turner Property. She has her own brokerage. Otherwise, it might say Keller Williams Memorial or Compass or EXP or Berkshire Hathaway, whatever it may be. But it would never say, Marty Miller as the agent. Okay, so that's the cool thing there. Additionally, if you look at home details, you can see here's all the information that's being pulled from the MLS. Next, we've got the information about the neighborhood. So it kind of shows you what I showed you earlier, that you can see a quick snapshot of what's happening in the neighborhood, or you can explore the neighborhood to get more information about commute times, what locals are saying, all of that information I showed you earlier that was available via neighborhood search as well. Next, you can see what locals say, which again, driven by spatial AI. You can see walkability driven by live by. Then you can see the commute times from this specific listing. So it would take me 33 minutes to get to the, it's not, what are we calling? KW Central is the new office there. And then you can also see it would take me, if I wanted to go to Reliant Stadium, it would take me 31 minutes to get to Reliant. Again, I can see the school zone to this particular listing itself. I can see the private schools, any open houses. You can see there's a built-in mortgage calculator as well. I'd be real careful with your buyers on that though. Just realize that it does not include taxes. So it's basically just kind of their principal and interest. And then they do have the ability, here's a really cool addition that just happened, and yours may not show this if you haven't done the update. And sorry, Android users, the update is not quite out for you guys. This literally just went live like an hour ago. The client has the ability to schedule a video tour. And when they click on that button, it's going to show, okay, well, what's your availability? And I can select several dates up to a week in advance. I can then choose what time of day. I'm available morning and afternoon, afternoon and evening, morning, afternoon, and evening, right? And once I go through this whole process, you can see I can decide, do I want it to be in person or do I want it to be a live video? And if I want it to be live video, what is the actual preferred method? So let's just say it's Zoom. I can click on Schedule Video Tour, and it says your request has been submitted. Your agent will get you in touch with you via email to confirm. Right? And I can tap anywhere to dismiss. It takes me back to that listing page. Here's the cool thing. That just fired an alert to my command to let me know that I have a request from a consumer that wants to go see a property virtually. And so then I can know to follow up with them via email. I can call them, text them. It doesn't have to be email. But obviously, I'm going to reach out to them to make sure that then they get the information, right? So I can follow up and make sure that we got coordinate. All right, so that's the actual listing information. You can also search for properties. I showed you how to search by landmark, how to search by neighborhood. You can actually search by school district. So I can type in Houston Independent, and as I do, you'll see at the bottom there, the school district pops up. You can now see the entire boundary for the Houston Independent School District. Maybe they don't want to be in HISD, they want to be in Spring Branch. right? So there's Spring Branch Independent School District. You can see that one. Excuse me, they might want to be in Katy. So again, any of the local school districts, you can type in and it's going to show you the actual boundaries for that school district. So that way they can actually search to make sure that they're only seeing properties within one of those school districts that's important to them. At the top, excuse me, we can actually go through and just do a good old-fashioned standard home search. So let's say I'm looking for a house that's somewhere between, I don't know, 300 and 500K. And I'm just sliding these sliders with my thumb, right? Move them to the right and the left. I need it to be at least 4 bedrooms. I want it to be a single family home. So I'm going to click on property type, houses. I can click on more in the top right. And then I can just scroll and decide, all right, what listing types do I want to see? It's going to default to active listings. Okay, so it's important that it defaults to active listing. If for any reason you can't find a listing on the app, just make sure that it's still active, right? Because if you haven't chose active, it's only, if you choose pending, it'll only show pending listings, so on and so forth. You can also use the app for rent properties. So I can click on for rent if I'm looking for lease properties instead of actually properties for sale. I can come down, you can see additional criteria there. I'm going to click on bathrooms, let's say 3+, and then click on done. So I'm now looking, for some reason that price didn't stay, 350 to 500. And I'll click on done. So now it is showing me properties that are in between 350 and 500, 4+ bedrooms that are single family with 3+ baths. I can also then say by clicking on the little draw button, all right, I want to be in this section right here near the energy corridor, but close enough to still be in Katy-ish. And then it's going to actually pull up that specific area and show me all of the properties just in that shaded area that still match my criteria. If I want to, that took me a little while to go through each one of those steps. If I want to save this as a search that I would use regularly, I could click on save, and then I could call this maybe just energy corridor. Oops. And save. Now, when I go back to the save button at the bottom, I can not only see properties that I have favorited, but I can see my saved searches as well. So I can click on energy corridor. It takes me right back to that setup that I had earlier. If I were to clear all these filters and I could go to a completely different area of the map, and I'm going to be over here. I was looking at something in Spring or the Woodlands, blah, blah, blah. No, I've decided I want to be back in the energy corridor. I can click on saved, click on my energy corridor search, and it takes me right back to that spot that I was at earlier. So pretty cool setup there. Additionally, a lot of times, both you and the consumer, I'm sure, when you're looking at, you're just driving around, maybe you're on a bike ride, I don't know, you go for a walk, and all of a sudden you see a new for sale sign that you haven't seen before. Your first instinct, if you're like me, is to find out how much is it? What's it? How much is that house worth? You're not interested in buying. Maybe not even that nice of a house, but you're just curious. Anytime that you are using the KW Realty app and you want to know what's happening right where I'm standing, at the top of the screen, you'll see a little arrow that's kind of cockeyed to the left. If you click on that arrow at the top there, you'll actually see that based upon the GPS on your phone, it'll zoom in where you currently stand or sit or are riding your bike and show you all the properties available right there around where you currently are. Guys, here's the cool thing. Unlike HAR, this is a national app. So anytime I'm on vacation or I'm traveling for work or I'm going to see family that's anywhere in the US or Canada, I can actually search for properties across the entire United States or Canada. So for me, it's always been a goal of mine. At some point, I'd love to live on Lake Travis. I want to be on the water with a boat, just kind of a 10 to 15-year plan. And I can actually search from Houston using my KW app for properties in Lake Travis. Maybe for you, it's I want to move to Las Vegas. I want to move to the Grand Canyon. I want to move to Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know, right? You can use this app to search for properties across the entire US. And again, remember, that's something that if they are using HAR to single out HAR, they cannot do, right? So yes, you're going to have to train your consumers, right? And some of it they're going to figure out. But the reality is, guys, your consumers have a real estate app right now on their phone. And so when you go to them and say, hey, I've got this new real estate app, it's the KW Consumer app, it's amazing, I'd love for you to download it and use it, they're going to say, well, I'm good. I've got an app. Okay, great. And does your app do this, right? So, Bruce said, I love Lake Travis. Does your app search for properties across the nation? Well, no, but why would I need to do that? Well, you've never been on vacation and just wanted to know local properties that were for sale. You've never thought about what would it look like to live outside of Houston and want to search for property values in Austin, San Antonio, Lake Travis, Dallas, outside of Texas, right? So you've never wanted to search for homes that were around a particular area, like homes near Disney World, Disneyland, the White House, the Silver Oak Winery in Napa Valley. Every time I go out there, I'm like, oh man, I should live out here. And then I realize the property values are all $2.4 million for a 2-bedroom house, right? So your consumer app will allow you to set up searches anywhere across the nation or Canada. Next, right, how often have you gone, tell me if you've done this before, you've gone on a listing appointment or you've gone on a buyer's showing and you get to the house and you're like, ooh, man, I wish I would have known we're back to that. Whether that was power lines, whether that was a ditch or a bayou, whether that was a commercial car wash, whether that was the local high school band, marching band practice field. I have done all of those before. Yes, I wish that I'd known more than often that, oh man, I wish I would have known you back to that house. After the first couple of times, I started using Google Earth. Preparing for my listing appointments, I would actually go onto my computer, put in the address to Google Earth, and I would zoom in. So I had a better idea. The car wash caught me completely off guard. I had a CMA prepared for the sale of these people's home. I showed up and they backed to a commercial car wash. And the CMA goes out the window, right? I comped you against homes that didn't back to a commercial car wash. So, right? And then I had to play tap dance throughout the entire presentation. Here's the cool thing, guys, because our consumer app has a connection with Google, we actually have built into the app Google Earth functionality. And so in order to get to that, at the very top right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see the More button. We're going to click on that button again. Now, we spent some time using these filters earlier, but I'm not sure if you noticed there's actually 2 tabs on this screen. There's listing filters, and then there's map. You click on map, you'll see 2 options. You've got the default version, which we are in, shows you neighborhoods, street names, kind of the aerial view of the map. However, if you click on satellite and then click on done, you'll see now you have the Google Earth view of the properties that you might be looking at. So for example, my buyer wanted to see one of these properties. I could start to zoom in, right? And I could say, okay, yeah, these look like decent residential neighborhoods. Oh, okay, cool. This one's actually on a cul-de-sac. Let me see. We could scroll out a little bit. Maybe they're looking over here at one of these properties. Oh, let me zoom in on this one. Okay, so here's an interesting one. It backs to, and I can't tell if that's just a majorly large lot there with a tree in the middle and a pool, or is that raw land that might be developed in the future for some kind of residential development, apartments or condos, or worse yet, is it commercial property? Right? So these are the types of things that you can use in the consumer app. Guys, and there's nothing that says you can't search to buy a home too, right? I mean, realtors, we have the greatest advantage in that we know where all the deals are. And so you can use this, or you can use it as a realtor saying, hey, I'm going to go on a listing appointment or show a buyer a home in this area. Let me go ahead and zoom in and get a little bit better idea from the aerial view of what's happening in that neighborhood per se. Just looking at this neighborhood, just from a bird's eye view, I can say that if I live in Hunter's Terrace and I don't have a pool, I'm probably in trouble, because just from the bird's eye view, it looks like there's a whole lot of people with pools in Hunter's Terrace, at least on this side of the street, right? I mean, look at that entire, it's like you couldn't throw a rock without hitting somebody that had a pool. So if I was going on a listing appointment, say with this house right here on the corner that doesn't have a pool, yeah, I'm in trouble now, right? Because you're like the Lone Ranger, the guy without the pool. So a great tool that you can use, again, it's found from the More tab at the top right, and then click on Map. If you want to toggle back to the default view, you would just click on Default and then Done. And now you're back into that same neighborhood and street view that it defaults to, okay? So one more cool thing that the app can do, remember, you're gonna have to quote unquote sell this app to some of your consumers because they're gonna say, I'm good. All right, what are you using? Okay, cool, does that app, does it provide you with neighborhood data? No, okay, that's a bummer. Can you search for properties across the entire nation? No, oh, that's a bummer. Does that property have a connection with Yelp, showing you nearby restaurants, nearby gyms, nearby grocery stores, nearby nightclubs, etc.? No, oh, well, that's a bummer, right? Can you search by actually drawing on the map and outlining a specific area that you want to live in as compared to choosing a zip code, a city, or a neighborhood? Oh, you can't actually draw a specific area you want to live in? Oh, that's a bummer. Right, so these are all things that I just showed you that the consumer can do using the KW Consumer app. And guys, don't forget, when they're looking at one of these listings, this is a live consumer app. Like I'm using the consumer app as the consumer would. Do not forget, where's the listing agent's information on this app? It is not there. So if they want to circumvent you, they're going to have to go a little bit further, meaning they're going to have to go look it up on their computer or download some other app. But we have done our best, right, with the KW Consumer app, that if not required, we are not providing the listing agent's information, so that therefore, anytime they have a question, they can click on Ask Your Agent and actually fill out their questions there and submit that to you so that you get the information. Shika, there is an ability to search for foreclosures. However, the HAR MLS is not feeding that right now as of today into the consumer app. But you could click on More, and then you're going to scroll up to listing type, and you'll see foreclosures is one of the options. So I could click off of active onto foreclosures, but you'll see there in the bottom right-hand corner, no results. So it does have the ability built out. It's just HAR's MLS feed coming into the consumer app. There's something not working there. It has been reported they're working on that. Just a heads up, there's like 1,400 MLSs in the entire country. And so every time any one of those MLSs changes one small detail in their coding, then it's going to impact the consumer app. So there's an entire team, that's all they do is work through MLS issues and concerns and get those taken care of. So I have no doubt that in the future, that will be back and working correctly. All right, so we've talked about searching on the app. We've talked about branding the app. We've talked about things that are shown within the neighborhood and within the listing search. I want to shift gears for just a second. I want to look at a couple of other buttons at the bottom there. So you can see if you click on feed, this functionality of this portion of the app is still being developed and further fine-tuned. And yet you can see in the future that you as the agent would be able to create saved searches for your consumer, and those would show under saved searches. You can also see that you would be able to create your own collections for your consumer and show them there. And then you do have the guide. So I'm going to show you guide next. That's where we're headed next. So at the bottom of your phone, you should see a button in the very middle that says guide. 2 tabs listed there. Okay, so there are 2 tabs. There is a buying guide and a selling guide. Now, who's using this app? The consumer is using this app, correct? So let me ask you, if I was a consumer looking at your app and reading through these guides, who would I assume wrote these guides? Throw it in the chat there. If you were the consumer and you're using my app, for example, who would you assume wrote these guides? Yeah, the agent. Exactly. Gail, Shika, Bruce, the agent did. So I'm a consumer. You've asked me to download this app. I've downloaded it. Now I'm playing with it and I'm reading through the guides, and all of a sudden, what's happening? I'm starting to have expectations of you as the agent on what it's going to be like to buy a home with you or sell a home with you. Guys, did you realize that as you're sharing this app, you are building out expectations of your consumers for you? A lot of people don't even know this guide exists, right? So I'm bringing it to your attention because it's really important. Part of your homework needs to be going in and reading this guide. You need to click on each one of these steps and read through and say, okay, what expectations am I inadvertently, now knowingly, setting for my consumer? Have some pen and paper and start keeping notes. Are there things that are listed in here that I don't do or don't agree with? I probably need to edit. Are there things that I do that are not listed in this step and yet would typically fall during this time? Are there any steps that got missed? Guys, I love the KWRI marketing team. I think they've done a fantastic job in the development of this. However, if I were a consumer looking at your selling guide, I think I would be hard pressed to believe that I need to pay you 3% to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 simple steps. I'm going to pay you $15,000 to list my home and you're just going to do 5 simple things. That seems like a lot of money, right? So especially on the selling side, I would start looking at these steps and I would think about breaking them up. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can actually customize these guides for your consumer. So for example, the first step there says showing your home. I would argue that you might have several steps that happen before we even go to show the home. So for example, staging your home, right? The first step should probably be, hey, we're going to stage it. We need to pressure wash the driveway. We need fresh mulch. We need fresh flowers. We need to be decluttered, depersonalized. We want to make sure we've got paint. We've got to make sure all of those things are happening, right? Philip, if you're not seeing feed or guide, it means that you haven't actually, A, logged in and created an account, and B, you haven't branded the app to yourself as the agent. Okay, so you're looking at a non-branded version of the app, and that's an example of when you're not connected to an agent, there is no feed, there is no guide because you're not connected to an agent. So you'll want to go down to the More button in the bottom right and then search for yourself as an agent. Click on connect and then basically tag yourself as the agent. So first we got to stage the home. Then there might be a step that talks about preparing the home for photography and videography. Right? I know my photographer always wanted the blinds facing up because light on the ceiling means a bigger room. He wanted all the ceiling fans off. He wanted to make sure every light bulb fixture had a light bulb in it. More importantly, every chandelier had to have the exact same light bulb with the same wattage and same style, because his camera would pick up the differences and it made the chandeliers look weird if the bulbs weren't all the same. No vehicles can be in the driveway, right? The backyard needs to be staged as well, meaning all the cushions for the pool furniture need to be laid out and tied down or whatever. The umbrellas need to be up. You need to be ready because my photographer would come in, he had too many appointments to wait around. So he got in and he got out, and if you weren't ready with regards to things that he emailed you, then he was either going to take the photos regardless, or you were going to have to reschedule and pay a rescheduling fee. And guess who had to pay that, right? The agent did. So that could be an entire step of preparing your home for videography and photography. Then there could be an entire step that talks about preparing your home for the MLS, which talks about, hey, I'm getting the photos from the photographer, then I'm going to describe all of them. I'm writing a general description of your entire property. I am then uploading all the information that I wrote down when I was at your property with regards to the dimensions of the room and gas and water fixtures and flooring type and countertops and etc. Then I'm going to upload all of the additional documents that are important for a buyer's agent or buyer to review. Right? These are all different things that we do in the listing process, and I think it's important, at least in my opinion, that we have steps built out for each one of those. Because here's the cool thing, guys, using command, you can actually walk your consumer through and check off these items as you do them. And they can look at their app and then see check marks next to all of the items that they have actually completed. Why is that important? Guys, think about it. When you're at the buyer consult or the listing appointment, you are competing. If you don't think you're competing, you're fooling yourself, right? Every single person you know knows at least one other realtor other than you. So you're always competing. When you start to talk to them about, hey, what's it like to buy or sell with me? Well, look, it's a lengthy process. It can sometimes be stressful. And I understand you are most likely always going to want to know, what have we done? Where are we now? And what do we have left to do? Well, the great thing about working with me as a Keller Williams agent is you're going to have access to my Keller Williams consumer app, which includes a fully developed guide of all of the steps of buying a house or selling a house with me. And I will walk you through those steps. In fact, I'll check them off as we complete them. So at any time, you'll always know exactly what step we're on, what are we doing right now, what have we already completed, and what do we have left to complete or tackle, right? So you can use this app. Guys, that other agent that's competing with you doesn't have this. I mean, if they're a KW agent, they may. Even if they're a KW agent, they may not think that to bring out the phone and show them the app. Here's one more weapon in your tool belt, right? When you're attempting to secure that listing, you got to use all of your tools. Here's one more that you have that you can say, well, so that Compass guy, they got an app that walks you through the process? Oh, that's a shame, right? So secure the listing, secure the buyer by showing off the app. Now, that being said, if you're going to talk to them about walking them through the steps, you got to make sure you do it, okay? So now we're going to actually transition. Actually, let me show you a couple of other things on the app, and then we're going to transition in, take that consumer hat off, put our agent hat back on, and walk through. So within the app, we've talked about search, we've talked about feed, we've talked about guide, we've talked about save. More, I showed you how to make sure that you had branded the app to an agent, right? In this case, if you're using it as a consumer, brand it to yourself. You can see a history of kind of the properties that you have recently viewed. You can see under My Account, the ability to change their profile, change their password. Places is this is another spot where they can add those commute places, right? So how far is it to work? How far would it be from this property to church? How far would it be from this property to my parents' house? They can choose up to 3 different places to add in. And again, they don't even need to have the address. It might be, I'm a Trader Joe's addict. I want to know how far it is to Trader Joe's, right? So I can type that in, and it's going to give me a list of all of the Trader Joe's in the area. The one I always go to is on Commercial Center Boulevard. So now any listing that I looked at, I would easily be able to see, okay, now what's the distance between this listing and Trader Joe's? This is where they can add those places in. They can do it within the listing as well, but just one more spot that they can actually do that in. In addition, your agent has, the consumer has the ability to share the app from within the app. You, as the consumer, can share this app with other consumers as well. Just got to be careful, because you see when you click on the Share the KW app, it's going to create a text for you with your link. And let's just say I wanted to text this to somebody. You could then see what the text actually says. But that's awkward if I send this to someone because it says, I use the KW app to search for homes with my realtor, Marty Miller. Well, I am Marty Miller, right? So it might be something like, please use, right? I just deleted I. So it says, please use the KW app to search for homes. And I'm just going to take out my realtor, Marty Miller. And I could just put in something easy like with me. Download it now for a personalized experience. And then I could send this out from within the app to anyone that I wanted to download it. Now I'm going to show you in a few minutes how to use command to send out the app as well. But this is just one more way that you, as the consumer, also the agent, can send out the app to other people right from within the consumer app. Now you can also see though that if it was, you got the wife to download it and she wanted to share it with the husband, she could actually send the link from within her app as well. You got more information there again about Keller Mortgage and Covered, legal, and then the ability to sign out. At the very bottom there, guys, if you ever want to know what version you're on, do I have the most updated version, you can then see version 6.2.0 and then 6 in parentheses. If you weren't on the call when we first jumped on, sorry, let me make sure I got my battery charge in there. The app update just happened this morning. So if you have not already, you're going to want to go, well, I say for iPhone. Android, as I understand, Android has not quite pushed yet. And if you have an iPhone, then you can go to your app store and actually update the current version of the consumer app. All right, so we talked about the guide. How do I make edits and changes to this guide? Let me show you that. We're going to take off our consumer hat. We're going to go into command. We're going to put our agent hat on, okay? So here is KW command. On the left-hand side, you can see all of your applets or submenus, if you will. We're going to come into consumer, second to last one, and can click on the consumer applet. That's going to take us into a screen with 3 tabs on it. Okay, we are looking for the Guide Builder tab. It's typically the third one over, Guide Builder. And it's coming, and there we go. All right, so the third one over, Guide Builder. If I click on Guide Builder, you can then see the ability to look at the 2 stock guides that are currently available. Okay, right now there's only 2, and they both automatically get assigned to your client. So it's a buyer's guide and a selling guide. In the future, we'll actually have the ability to add additional guides and then assign them as necessary. So for example, I could build out a buyer's guide that was a first-time home buyer's guide. I could build out a buyer's guide that was a luxury buyer's guide, a farm and ranch buyer guide. Maybe it's a foreclosure or investor buyer guide, and have different steps. I could copy over some of the same steps, but then I could add some new steps by utilizing these guides. Right now, it's just one of each, okay? But we talked about the selling guide being only 5 steps, and I think most of you agreed with me, it's probably more than 5 steps. So in order to make edits, you would just click on this pencil, and then you're gonna see here are the 5 steps that are listed. To make changes, I would click on the step, and you can see I can change the background photo. I don't know many homes, there might be some homes in Memorial, I don't know. Metropolitan, I'm sorry, you guys have to met. There might be some homes over there that look like this, but probably not many, right? I think of like South Florida or Miami when I see that. Maybe you want to update the photo to make it look more like properties in your area. You can change the card title. You can change the subtitle. I like to think of that like teaser text, right? What does this do? Why should I click on this? So they can actually click on any one of these, right? And this is where the workspace details show up. When I was clicking on it on the phone, this is what was showing up. So you can go in through here, make changes, make updates, remove information, add information, anything that you would like. If you're gonna do like we talked about and add some additional steps, then you would come down and click on Add a Step. Once I did that, I could choose the card title. Maybe this is Staging Your Home, and it's important to make sure. And then I could just drag in a card image from something, you know, go find actually a logo that you've used before. Maybe we'll go with this one. And I can click on continue. You'll see it then creates this as a new step in the guide. Now, by default, it's going to drop that step at the very bottom, okay, meaning that's going to be the last step. So you can see here it is, the last one. Well, staging your home is actually the first step. So I can drag it all the way back up to the top, and now it's going to be my first step. If for any reason I get in here and I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't need this step, I can always click on the trash can. It'll remove that step. Any changes that I've made, I want to click on Save Changes, and that will then save that new version of the guide for any of my consumers that are using it moving forward. Okay, so part of your homework, I would go through and make sure that you understand the guide steps, what they're saying, because you're making expectations, setting expectations with your clients about that, and then make any edits or changes that you wanted to make with regards to what those steps actually say. Earlier, we requested a tour. You remember that? When I was on the app, I requested a video tour. Well, you can see I got a notification here, and if I click on it, it's actually going to pull up my contact record. It's going to show that I requested a tour at 154, right? And here's the property that I requested the tour on. So I can click on that and get the property page pulled up. I can actually view the request, and I can see that I requested of myself a tour on Sunday, May 10th, either the afternoon, the evening, the morning, whatever it might have been. And then here's the platform that needs to go out, okay? Now I would call myself and say, hey, great, that's all your request, we can definitely do that. Do you have an iPhone? So do I. FaceTime might be a little bit easier. Can we do FaceTime? Whatever you guys decide, and then coordinate that outside of the app. You can also see, right, earlier I was looking at collections and creating collections. So I created a collection called Memorial Area Homes, and here's the property that I added to it. Then I went in and viewed that collection again, and you can see I did the same thing. I created a saved search at this point, right? And you can then see this is the saved search called Energy Corridor. Watch what happens when I click on that. Oh, come on. Well, it was working earlier. I know that literally they just pushed the update, so I would not be surprised that there's not a couple issues like this. But it should show me the actual search that I set up so that you as the agent can see the search that was built by the consumer. Okay, so some pretty cool things there. Let's talk about getting the app into your consumer clients' contacts' hands. 3 different methods that I'm going to walk through with you guys. Okay, the first method is actually the manual process of sharing your app link. So if you click on consumer, we're going to go back into that consumer tab. And on any one of those 3 tabs, you will see a button that says Site and App Settings. So here is Site and App Settings. If I click on that, you can see that there are 4 tabs. Just a heads up that pretty soon there's going to be a 5th tab that will show up. That's going to be Featured Listings, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay? If I click on URLs, as I look down on the page, you will see the actual URL for my app link. So it'll actually be my link that I can send out to consumers. And so you can see it's right here. Excuse me, you can see it right here, app.kw.com / and then the actual code. When you're sending this out to people, it is case sensitive. Okay, it is case sensitive. So you need to make sure that if you're not just directly copying it, which is easiest, but if you are retyping it, that you put the first half in lower and the second half in uppercase. Okay? So I could just copy this link and then I could send it out in an email. I could send it out in a Facebook message. If I'm sending text from my computer, whatever it may be, you know, I'm posting it on Instagram, whatever, that would be the link that you would then use to send out your branded link so that when the consumer actually clicks on it, they're getting a version of your app, right? The text code, just ignore that. The text code has been very ineffective and very trouble-ridden, if you will. The team has worked on solving the issues, and it really, they just can't pin it down. There are very few people that actually even use a text code, so they are removing that functionality here in the very near future. So I can send out my app URL manually. That's option 1. Option 2, I can actually use a smart plan. All right, so Shika talked about that. In smart plans, if you've not been in, you should see no smart plans. If you spent any time in here, you'll see your smart plans. If you go into the library, you'll see that recently they created a smart plan called Promote My App. Okay, this is a plan that is 3 steps long. It's actually 5 steps, but it's 3 activities, right? When you put somebody on it, you can immediately, it'll send them an email that talks about the actual app, what its value is, why you should download it. Then it's going to wait 1 day. And as long as you have Twilio set up in your settings, then it will fire a text for you. This text would say, hey, this is agent first, agent last with team. Did you see that a neighbor listed a home in your area? Download my brand new app. Right? And it's going to wait 3 more days. And then it's going to send out a second text. Did you know that you can see all the cumulative stats about your neighborhood in my new app? That's the example. And if you don't make any changes, that's what's going to go out. I'm going to show you how you can make some edits that I think are important, especially on this 3rd text, right? The second text, the 3rd step. So if you want to add this smart plan to your library, you would just click on Add Smart Plan. And then when you go back to My Smart Plans, you would see it here, Promote My App. You're going to see pencils all down this aisle, but some of them are black and some of them are gray. If they're grayed out, it means you cannot edit that smart plan. The Promote My App smart plan is one that you can edit. So you could click on the pencil. It's going to bring you into the smart plan. And here's the change that I made. Before, this was not there. It just said, did you know that you can see blah, blah, blah. I always want to make sure that if I'm sending text from Twilio, that I'm identifying myself. Because the Twilio number is a business-based text line. It is not my personal cell phone. I don't expect that my contacts, consumers, or clients are going to have my business text line actually saved in their phone. So I think it's always important that you make sure that you actually identify who you are, so they're not like, what is this, right? So that's one thing I would make a change on, is making sure you add in your name. And that really goes for any Twilio text on any smart plan, that you always identify yourself. Andrew, as I understand, they are working towards having the ability to copy and paste that guide. There's several team things along that line. They're working on team tags, where you could create one set of tags and then would be able to be used by everyone on your team. They're working on team marketing profiles. So instead of it coming from the Rainmaker or a buyer's agent or an ISA or a listing agent, it would just come from the team, and that would be the profile that you would use there. And then yes, I do believe they're working on the ability to share the guides and then share smart plans as well. So I don't have any timeline. I know that it's been actively talked about. I think smart plans will probably be the first thing that shows up, is the ability to share smart plans. I think marketing profile might be next. So the guides may take a little while. I'm just going to be 100% transparent with you. And yet if it were me, because most of it is just text, I would actually just copy and paste it into a Word document, and then you would just have to copy and paste it into the new steps for each team member. Now, again, with a big team, that's going to take some work. Leverage is power, so find a VA or a teenager that can do that for you. Please confirm that once added to the smart plan, it'll automatically go out on the scheduled day. Shika, it typically goes out the day you put them on the smart plan. At worst, it'll go out on the next day. But yes, the email is automatically fired for you. And then if you have Twilio connected, it will fire the texts for you. If you do not have Twilio connected, it's going to create tasks for you to send those texts. So you got to be really careful, guys. I've seen this not necessarily go wrong. It did what it was supposed to do, but the agent was a little annoyed. They put like 400 people on the share my app or my app plan, promote my app plan, but they didn't have Twilio connected. So within 3 days, they had 800 tasks, because they had 400 to send the first text and then 400 more to send the second text. So just kind of be careful. I always recommend that you set up Twilio for your consumers. It's just a very powerful program. So the second method of sharing your app is to use this smart plan. You can see that once you have this smart plan in your library, you can actually add people to it from this smart plan applet. I can click on add contact. Who do I want to add? I can add them manually by name, right? So Marty Miller, and I can find myself and add myself. I can actually search for tags. So I want to send this out to anyone that is a buyer in my database. So I could click on buyer. I could go through, right? So you can see all the different tags that would be available. And anyone that has a buyer tag, looks like, oh, it's because I'm still searching for my name. So here's everybody with a buyer tag, and I could just click on select all, and it would choose those 16 people as well. Right, so those are methods to add people to that smart plan from within smart plans. If you're in your contacts, you can do it just a little bit differently, and that's just by using either one at a time. So I can put, if I'm in Blair's contact record, I want to add him to that smart plan, I would just click on add to smart plan. Now that it's in my library, I would choose promote my app. And then I can decide whether I want it, and Shika, this is what you're asking, whether you want it to go out now, or I can even toggle it to say, hey, don't send the email right now. I just sent them an email. Let's have this go out maybe next week, Monday. And then it would fire that email on Monday. So you do have that ability to toggle there. The last option is to do it in bulk from contacts. So I could go in, I showed you how to do that search by tag within the applet, smart plan applet. I could also come in here and say, hey, I want to do a filter for anyone that's in my system as a buyer and apply. And then I want to click on this box that selects them all. And then I'll do a bulk action, add to smart plan, and then I would put in the actual smart plan. And I would select that, and then I can do the same thing. The cool thing about doing it in bulk from contacts is if I want this to go out, not all 16 at once, I can say, hey, stagger it over the next few days. Let's just say I want it to go 4 per day. It would send 4 today, 4 tomorrow, 4 the next day, 4 the next day. Okay, so that's one more way that you can send out contact smart plans. So share it manually, put them on a smart plan. The last option is to actually utilize your social media accounts to talk about your app. So I can click on campaigns. As long as I have gone into my command settings and connected my Facebook or Twitter accounts, or both, I want to connect the Facebook post scheduling and the Twitter post scheduling. I can come into campaigns, and then I'm going to click on, excuse me, social posts. And you'll see here as you scroll down on the right-hand side, there are 2 posts that have already been created that talk about the consumer app. In order to run one of these posts, right, to actually post one of these on my page, all I would have to do would be click on the arrow, and it's literally going to tell you, here's the text we recommend. If you don't like this, you can click on shuffle. It'll give you a new set of text. I think there's only 2 that you can go through. Oh no, it looks like there's 3 that you could go through. Oh, it looks like there's more than that. So several that you can go through with, right, with different verbiage. Find the verbiage that you like, or type in your own verbiage. Okay, I would make sure you left this app link alone, but you could come in here and delete all of this and recreate the verbiage how you wanted it. You've already got the professional marketing photo that you can see here. Your DBA logo is already included, and then you can schedule it and decide whether I want to schedule this post or publish it now. Let's say I don't think I have anything going out on my pages tomorrow, so I would click on the calendar. Tomorrow is the 7th. Let's have it go out at 9 a.m. And I want it to go out on my Facebook and my Twitter, and I'm going to click on schedule post. It's going to say, this is what it's going to look like on Facebook. This is what it's going to look like on Twitter. Do you want to schedule it? And I would click on schedule post. And all of a sudden I have now scheduled a post to go out on both my Twitter and my Facebook accounts that quick and easy. You can now see here is that post going out. That's how easy it was to schedule one post. Guys, you can see there's a second one here. You're like, well, that's only fine and well, but really just 2 of them? Nope. If I click on shuffle, you can see I got a new one down below. And then this one's actually, I really like this. This is the app video that was shared at Family Reunion. So I'll play just a second or 2 of that. So you can actually share this video on your pages as well by doing the same thing. Just click on the arrow. It's going to pull up the video. It's going to pull up suggested text. You can still edit this if you choose to. And then this one actually defaults to publishing immediately. And yet you can still click on schedule post. Let's say I want this one to go out on Thursday. Maybe let's do next Tuesday. I don't think I have anything going out next Tuesday. And I could say, nope, I want it to go out. Let's actually do this one at, I think consistency is important. I stick at 9 a.m. on all of them. And I want it to go out on Facebook and Twitter. I could then click on schedule post. This is my preview on Facebook. This is my preview on Twitter. Schedule to post. And now I have that one going out, right? But you can see this one's going out on Tuesday, Monday, May 11th, and also May 12th. If for any reason that happens, you're like, oh, that's a little too much, I can click on these 3 little dots and delete that post. And then I've only got Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Guys, homework. Go mark 20 minutes in your calendar each week. Heck, go mark 45 minutes once a month. And you could schedule out. You can see I teach this class very regularly. I've already had, right, just in May, I had something go out last week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I had something go out this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I've got that one I just added tomorrow. Next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the week after that, I've already got Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? So you can see how quick and easy it is to schedule these posts. They're already created for you. The verbiage is there, the image is there, the graphic is there, your app link is there. It's all there. Just go spend the time to actually connect your accounts and then schedule the posts. How often are we real consistent about scheduling on our pages and then we get busy? We get 3, 4, 10 buyers, or whatever it may be. We just get busy, and then all of a sudden, what's the first thing to go to the wayside is our social media. So if you did this once a month and just booked out the entire month, then it wouldn't matter how busy you got later in the month. You've already got these posts happening. Now, you might not have your open houses and your new listings and that kind of stuff, and yet at least you know that 3 times a week throughout the next 4 weeks, you're going to be talking about your consumer app so that you can get people utilizing it. really easy way to make sure that people that are fans of your business page or your Twitter account are seeing that information come out. Guys, that's the consumer app. Again, you guys it's kind of a fun time to be taking this class because literally this morning the update happened. This afternoon, right, or maybe tomorrow morning, we'll see how long it takes, but the Android version should be posting. iPhone happened already. And you can now start to see a lot more visibility with regards to what's happening when you're working with your consumer, right? You saw the ability to request a tour, and I got an alert there. You can see when you look at the contact record, let's see, this one is the one, yep. So anytime I create a search, right, a saved search, you're gonna know about it, what I called it, and then pretty soon this will work. There it is, look at that. Now you can see all of my saved searches. Do you see them? Here are all of the saved searches that I have created. Obviously I taught this class a lot, right? And so you can see them all in there, and then you can see, okay, what's the price? What's the bedrooms and bathrooms? And now you can't edit them because they've been created by the consumer. However, you can create one that would then show up on the consumer's app by clicking on Create Saved Search. And then you can come in here and go through just like they did on what search criteria you want them to have. Okay, so that's brand new, the ability to see the saved searches. In addition, you can see when they request a video tour. You can see when they've actually named you as the agent. You can see when they have viewed a collection, when they have created a collection, when they have just viewed a specific listing, didn't have anything to do with the collection, and then all the way down, right? Anytime I view a collection, anything else. So much information that you now have ability to stay up to date with what's happening with your active buyers, maybe even your active sellers. What's going on with my clients? What's happening? When you come into contacts, you can actually see, okay, I actually visited the site today, May 6th. So if I were you and I wanted to know who's been on my site most recently, you can actually come into your contacts, you can click on filters, and then you can say last visited, and then whatever you want to do. You could actually even sort the entire column by last visited and see who was most recently on your site. So right now it's me, right, teaching this class, but then you can see Alan and Lori were on my site 11 days ago, 2 weeks ago Clarice was, and then a month ago, right? So it's a quick and easy way as you're sending out more and more people the app. Now anytime they go on the app, you're going to be able to see that they visited. That's going to count as a visit. And then here you can see all the things they did while they were on the app. Two different schools of thoughts, and then we'll take questions and wrap. First school of thought, when you're talking to the consumer about your app, make sure they understand I can see it all. Anytime you view a listing, you create a collection, anytime you request a tour, anytime, you know, all these things that you're doing, it's really cool because I'll know about it when you're viewing neighborhoods, etc. I'll have an understanding of what you're doing, so I'm better prepared to serve you in your home search. So let them know I've got full visibility. The other option is to play dumb, right? They viewed a listing on Meadow Lake Lane, and all of a sudden they added it to a collection. And I call them and say, hey, you know what? I was driving through the neighborhood the other day. I saw a property I wanted to call you about. I was thinking it might be a great fit based upon the last time we talked. It's actually there in the Memorial area. It's on 3841 Meadow Lake Lane. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I just was on your app this morning. I added that to a collection of favorites. Wow, what a coincidence. Do you want to see it tonight or tomorrow morning? All right, so those are kind of the two schools of thoughts. What I would not do is don't tell them that you can see everything they're doing, and then all of a sudden call them and say, hey, looks like you were on your app yesterday at 2 in the morning. I guess you couldn't sleep, huh? Did you want to go see some of those properties? And they freak out and they're like, wait a minute. You can see my phone. You can see what I'm doing on my phone. My card just got hacked. Did you get into my bank account? Oh, right. They're freaking out. So I would just make sure I was being real clear on either, and I would go the first route personally. I would tell them, hey, this is one of the selling points of this app, all the cool things that I can see that you're doing, so that I am better informed with you as a buyer or seller, what you're looking for, what you're reviewing, etc. But it would be up to you to decide how you want to go that route, right? So that's the KW Consumer app in a nutshell. Homework, make sure you've got it downloaded. Make sure that it's branded to you so that you can play with it as a consumer and then see how it impacts your command, right? You can do exactly what I just did and start to see what's the correlation between the two things. When I'm doing something on the consumer app, what's happening in command. 2, make sure that you've gone to the connect settings in command, right? So I can come into settings. I would click on connect settings and then marketing profile. And you want to make sure all of this has been filled out, right? That everything in here has been completely filled out so that when they go to look you up, you've got a photo, your team logo, everything is there, it looks good, okay? Next piece of homework, go through the guides. Make sure you've explored them and you understand what they say, what expectations are they setting on your behalf with your client. And if those are unrealistic or things you don't do, then change them. If there are things that you do and they're not included, then add them, right? So go in and customize those guides. Finally, get into the social campaigns, or excuse me, the social posts and the smart plans and start adding your contacts so that you're getting more and more people downloading your app so you can have better insight into what they're doing and when they're utilizing it. All right, so guys, that's the training for today. And I wish I could have been there with you guys. I love touring your offices and seeing you guys, shaking hands, hugging the people I haven't seen in a long time. Q3, we'll be back, right? I firmly believe that I'll be back soon. Well, I take it back. We're having a baby August 19th, so we'll see, right? As long as everything stays on track, my goal is to do all my market centers before the baby gets here. And yet that's, you know, tell God your plans and he laughs. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully I'll get to see you guys Q3. Gail says, so glad to hear how to get the word out to my clients about the app. You are absolutely welcome. Any other questions, comments, concerns, ahas, anything you want to share? Even though I put everything detailed for my contacts, the percentage doesn't go more than 96. All right, so let's go through it. Kind of as a side topic, but let's walk through what is a perfect score on a contact record. So here's a good example. Blair is at 96%. All right, so what am I missing? The big 4 are name, email, phone number, and address. Okay, name, phone number, email, and address. Those 4 will get you 20% each. That takes you to 80%. From there, you have to have a custom tag. That's going to get you 4% more. You have to have a lead source. That's going to get you 4% more. You have to have a social profile. That's going to get you paid 4% more. You have to have a birthday. That's going to get you 4% more. And then you have to have a company or title. Company or title gets you the last 4%. So in this example, I don't have a birthday saved for Blair. That's why he's at 96%. Yes, Karina, I did record this presentation. And so I will be uploading it to YouTube and sending your leadership a link so that way they can then share it back with you guys in case you missed the beginning or had to leave early, or you can send it to team members or people in the office there as well. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll get you guys back to your beautiful day and look forward to seeing you again in the future. Shika, you're welcome. I appreciate you as well. All right, guys, y'all have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. And until then, all my best. Get that app out there, start using it, get it into your people's hands, okay? Take care, guys.